All righty, let me share the screen. Let's go here. All right, we'll kick it off, David.
Sure. Chapter 13, the brain, a broadcasting and receiving station for thought, the 12th step towards riches. More than 20 years ago, the author, working in conjunction with the late Dr. Alexander Graham Bell and Dr. Elmer R. Gates, observed that every human brain is both a broadcasting and receiving station for the vibration of thought. Through the medium of the ether, in a fashion similar to that employed by the radio broadcasting principle, every human brain is capable of picking up vibrations of thought which are being released by other brains. In connection with the statement in the preceding paragraph, compare and consider the description of the creative imagination as outlined in the chapter on imagination. The creative imagination is the receiving set of the brain, which receives thoughts released by the brains of others. It is the agency of communication between one's conscious or reasoning mind and the four sources from which one may receive thought stimuli. When stimulated or stepped up to a high rate of vibration, the mind becomes unable to read. The mind becomes more receptive to the vibration of thought which reaches it through the ether from outside sources. The stepping up process takes place through the positive emotions or the negative emotions. Through the emotions, the vibration of thought may be increased. Vibrations of an exceedingly high rate are the only vibrations picked up and carried by the ether from one brain to another. Thought is energy traveling at an exceedingly high rate of vibration. Thought, which has been modified or stepped up by any of the major emotions, vibrates at a much higher rate than ordinary thought, and it is this type of thought which passes from one brain to another through the broadcasting machinery of the human brain. Can you make that, can you make that a little bigger, Dom? Cool, thanks. The emotion of sex stands at the head of the list of human emotions as far as intensity and driving force are concerned. The brain, which has been stimulated by the emotion of sex, vibrates at a much more rapid rate than it does when the emotion is absent or not there. The result of sex transmutation is the increase of the rate of vibration of thoughts to such a pitch that the creative imagination becomes highly receptive to ideas, which it picks up from the ether. On the other hand, when the brain is vibrating at a rapid rate, it not only attracts thoughts and ideas released by other brains through the medium of the ether, but it gives to one's own thoughts that feeling which is essential before those thoughts will be picked up and acted upon by one's subconscious mind. Thus, you will see that the broadcasting principle is the factor through which you mix feeling or emotion with your thoughts and pass them to your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is the sending station of the brain through which vibrations of thought are broadcast. The creative imagination is the receiving set through which the vibrations of thought are picked up from the ether. Along with the important factors of the subconscious mind and the faculty of the creative imagination, which constitute the sending and receiving sets of your mental broadcasting machinery, consider now the principle of autosuggestion, which is the medium by which you may put into operation your broadcasting station. Through the instructions described in the chapter on autosuggestion, you were definitely informed of the method by which desire may be transmuted into its monetary equivalent. Operation of your mental broadcasting station is a comparatively simple procedure. You have but three principles to bear in mind and to apply when you wish to use your broadcasting station: the subconscious mind, creative imagination, and autosuggestion. The stimuli through which you put these three principles into action have been described. The procedure begins with desire. I'll pass it on. Who else wants to go? Dom, you want to kick it?
Yeah, I'll pick you up.
All right.
Every time you say ether, man, I just want to go buy some more crypto.
Nice.
I'm just saying. Ether for everyone out there, that's a crypto. ETH. All right. The greatest forces are intangible. The Depression brought the world to the very borderline of understanding of the forces which are intangible and unseen. Through the ages which have passed, man has developed too much upon physical senses and has limited his knowledge to physical things, which he could see, touch, weigh, and measure. We are now entering the most marvelous of all ages, an age which will teach us something of the intangible forces of the world about us. Perhaps we shall learn as we pass through this age that the other self is more important than the physical self we see when we look into the mirror. Sometimes men speak lightly of the intangible things, the things which they cannot perceive through any other of their five senses. And when we hear them, it should remind us that all of us are controlled by forces which are unseen and intangible. The whole of mankind has not the power to cope with, nor to control the intangible force wrapped up in the rolling waves of the oceans. Man has not the capacity to understand the intangible force of gravity, which keeps this little earth suspended in midair and keeps man from falling from it, much less the power to control the force. Man is entirely subservient to the intangible force which comes with a thunderstorm, and he is just as helpless in the presence of the intangible force of electricity. Nay, he does not even know what electricity is, where it comes from, or what its purpose is, nor, hold on a second here, nor is it this by any means the end of man's ignorance to the conjunction with the unseen and intangible. He does not understand the intangible force and intelligence wrapped up in the soil of the earth, the force which provides him with every morsel of food he eats, every article of clothing he wears, every dollar he carries in his pocket. The dramatic story of the brain. Last but not least, man, with all his boasted culture and education, understands little or nothing of the intangible force, the greatest of all the intangibles, of thought. He knows but little concerning the physical brain and its vast network of intricate machinery through which the power of thought is translated into its material equivalent. But he is now entering an age which shall yield enlightenment on the subject. Enlightenment on the subject. Many men of science have begun to turn their attention to the study of stupendous things called the brain. And while they are still in the kindergarten stage of their studies, they have uncovered enough knowledge to know that the central switchboard of the human brain, the number of lines which connect the brain cells to one another, equal the figure 1 followed by 15 million ciphers. The figure is so stupendous that Dr. C. Judson Herrick of the University of Chicago, that astronomical figures dealing with hundreds of millions of light years become insignificant by comparison. It has been determined that there are from 10 billion to 14 billion nerve cells in the human's cerebral cortex. And we know that they are arranged in definite patterns. These arrangements are not haphazard, they are orderly. Recently developed methods of electrophysiology drawn off action currents from very precise located cells or fibers in the microelectrodes, amplify them with the radio tubes, and record potential differences to a millionth of a volt. It is inconceivable that such of a network of intricate machinery should be in existence for the sole purpose of carrying on the physical functions incidental to growth and maintain of the physical body. It is not likely that the same system which gives billions of brain cells to the media for communication one with another provides also the means of communication with other intangible forces. After this book has been written, just before the manuscript went to the publisher, there appeared in the New York Times an editorial showing that at least one great university and one intelligent investigator in the field of mental phenomenon are carrying on an organized research through which conclusions have been reached that parallel many of those described in this and the following chapter. The editorial briefly analyzes the work carried on by Dr. Ryan and his associates at Duke University, viz. What is telepathy? A month ago, we cited on this page some of the remarkable results achieved by Professor Ryan and his associates at Duke University from more than 100,000 tests to determine the existence of telepathy and clairvoyance. These results were summarized in two articles in Harper's Magazine. In the second, which has now appeared, the author E.H. Wright attempts to summarize what has been learned or what it seems reasonable to infer, regardless of the exact nature of these extrasensory modes of perception. Janika, would you like to read a little bit? Or Dave, or Dave, you want to go here?
Yeah, I can pick it up if you want. We're on the actual existence, right? The actual existence of telepathy and clairvoyance now seems to some scientists enormously probable as the result of Ryan's experiments. Various participants were asked to name as many cards in a special pack as they could without looking at them and without other sensory access to them. About a score of men and women were discovered who could regularly name so many of the cards correctly that there was not one chance in many millions of their having done their feats by luck or accident. But how did they do them? These powers, assuming that they exist, do not seem to be sensory. There is no known organ for them. The experiments worked just as well at distances of several hundred miles as they did in the same room. These facts also dispose, in Mr. Wright's opinion, of the attempt to explain telepathy or clairvoyance through any physical theory of radiation. All known forms of radiant energy decline inversely as the square of the distance traversed. Telepathy and clairvoyance do not, but they do vary through physical causes as our mental powers do. Contrary to widespread opinion, they do not improve when the percipient is asleep or half asleep, but on the contrary, when he is most wide awake and alert. Ryan discovered that a narcotic will invariably lower a percipient's score, while a stimulant will always send it higher. The most reliable performer apparently cannot make a good score unless he tries to do his best. One conclusion that Wright draws from some confidence is that telepathy and clairvoyance are really one and the same gift. That is, the faculty that sees a card face down on a table seems to be exactly the same one that reads a thought residing only in another mind. There are several grounds for believing this. So far, for example, the two gifts have been found in every person who enjoys either of them. In everyone so far, the two have been of equal vigor, almost exactly. Screens, walls, distances have no effect at all on either. Wright advances from the conclusions to express what he puts forward as no more than the mere hunch that the extrasensory experiences, prophetic dreams, premonitions of disaster, and the like may also prove to be part of the same faculty. The reader is not asked to accept any of these conclusions unless he finds it necessary, but the evidence that Ryan has piled up must remain impressive. In view of Dr. Ryan's announcement in connection with the conditions under which the mind responds to what he terms extrasensory modes of perception, I now feel privileged to add to his testimony by stating that my associates and I have discovered what we believe to be the ideal conditions under which the mind can be stimulated so that the sixth sense described in the next chapter can be made to function in a practical way. The conditions to which I refer consist of a close working alliance between myself and two members of my staff. Through experimentation and practice, we have discovered how to stimulate our minds by applying the principle used in connection with the invisible counselors described in the next chapter, so that we can, by a process of blending our three minds into one, find the solution to a great variety of personal problems which are submitted by my clients. The procedure is very simple. We sit down at a conference table, clearly state the nature of the problem we have under consideration, and begin discussing it. Each contributes whatever thoughts that may occur. The strange thing about this method of mind stimulation is that it places each participant in communication with unknown sources of knowledge, definitely outside his own experience. If you understand the principle described in the chapter on Mastermind, you, of course, recognize the roundtable procedure here described as being a practical application of the Mastermind. This method of mind stimulation through harmonious discussion of definite subjects between three people illustrates the simplest and most practical use of the Mastermind. By adopting and following a similar plan, any student of this philosophy may come into possession of the famous Carnegie formula briefly described in the introduction. If it means nothing to you at this time, mark this page and read it again after you have finished the last chapter. The depression was a blessing in disguise. It reduced the whole world to a new starting point that gives everyone a new opportunity.
Short and powerful.
Yeah.
Short and powerful. I'm gonna stop sharing the page 1 second. And then we'll go back over here and chat for a bit. Welcome, Miss Janika. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing?
I hear you. I can hear you now. Welcome to, some of my friends here. You got Miss Christina waving, blowing kisses. You got Derek and Reggie and Nia and Dave. This is my sister Janika. Twins we are, separated at birth.
Nice, welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Of course. So anyone want to kick it off? Something they got out of that chapter, something they hit them, learned, spoke to them. Christina, go ahead.
Yes. When they talk about electricity, I think that we really don't fathom how important that is. I'm asking myself if that's why when you join a business, they say you've got to go all in like crazy, because not only does that generate momentum, but you're working with a different energy. And like people can so feel you. It doesn't matter what you say. It's who you're being in the moment, because you can be felt, and that's through energy as well, right?
Absolutely.
So that has me thinking. That's why it's important to keep your energy up and be mindful of your thoughts as well. And then I think about the subconscious thoughts and images that we're not even aware of, that we're perhaps holding, back in the subconscious, which is why it's important. The auto suggestion, I don't know if that's what they call it in this book. You had said something else, I believe, in this chapter. But the material that I've been listening to with this and Bob Proctor, the images are so important in your belief. It's all in the unseen. So your senses can really trick you. They can fool you. They can lie to you. Your senses are not necessarily a good thing if you want to grow and succeed and do things that you've never done before. Everything, I do believe, is not with what you see with your eyes. Definitely not. Because if you think about the scientists, Ford, all the greats, they went by unknown, unseen, things that had not been seen or done before. So for anyone who doesn't believe that, they really need to bring themselves up to par in the Think and Grow Rich. So I think what's important, and I'll just end with this, is the auto suggestions and the images. And it takes work consistently every day and throughout the day. I've been really working on applying it. I'm exhausted, to be honest with you. I do believe it takes work, because you have to. I've been really listening closely to material, and it's not just listening, though. You have to apply it. That's the work. That's the magic. Yeah, that's the magic. That's the work. You have to get rid of those old mindsets, beliefs, from what we had believed to be true, that's dictating our habits, and create new ones. And that's the work. Those are the action steps. That's it.
I love it. Yes. Thank you. Who else?
I really like what Christina said. Yeah, if I could take a second. I thought it was really good. And I think it's really interesting, the points you made, because on such like a human and like a mammal level, like there's just so many things we do naturally that are just so primal. And evolutionary, we've needed it for survival reasons. And so there's certain things we do that, like you said, maybe isn't it, especially in our best interest, or it won't get us to our next level, at least. So it can hinder our growth. And so that's really interesting that you touched upon that. But I really like actually the box, the last quote, or the last quote. And it made me think about that movie, Fight Club, where, if you're familiar with it, it's basically about like social reset. And so I think that's kind of what this discusses, how the depression was a blessing in disguise, just kind of giving people that tabula rasa, which means blank slate. And so having people without these preconceived notions, these misinformed like society pressures, it allows them to truly immerse themselves with the divine nature that we all have within us. And I think the brain chapter was just very interesting, because like I am very science-based, I believe. I have like a STEM degree, and I love science and chem and anthropology in general. And so people are very interesting, but when it really comes down to it, this chapter discusses like transmutation. And so like you said, Christina, you have to put in the work. So, and not everybody's an alchemist because it's easy. So you have to put in the work to get results. And so that's different and personal for every unique individual. But, you know, that's what people mean when they say the energy's off or the vibes aren't there. Like, it really is just down to science. And so to know that you have that type of control, though, is like really empowering, though. So we're our own creators, right? That's pretty neat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nia. And yes, and believe all of that. I mean, just the frequencies and the vibrations that we all carry and that we are, I mean, that's all we are. That's what we're made of. So to not really think the energies of people and situations and what's going on within us, that it's not real. Like when you feel off, you're off. But you need to get something to shift that vibration and to really change that mindset into that paradigm. And it can happen because we all felt amazing too. And you can feel amazing and then you go to sleep, you wake up and you feel, ooh, like, okay. But there's those things and those tricks that you learn through all of this and through the practice and through the repetitions of things that you know that work within your life that really raise your vibration in a second. I actually just did a video on it today talking about just how do you finish what you start? How do you stay on track? How do you not keep jumping from one thing to the next? Because that's what happens in most people's lives. They don't see the results. You got to be patient, like Christina said, and you really have to have those patience of finding that vibration and finding that groove and that tune. When you're going hard, you're really going hard to change your vibration, to change the mode, to change the frequency, but then also to really see what sticks and what really works and what really makes you feel good, because you don't know what that is, because it's different. You're on a different frequency. You're on a different vibration. So you're not used to that yet. You got to get used to that. So.
Yeah, no, I like how you put that. I think that's very cool because you are kind of touching upon just really, you know, kind of being in your flow. Like that's how athletes describe it, like being in our flow, like when we're just really resonating and just going with how we are. That's just tapping into like the ether, you know, not crypto in this sense, but tapping into the ether. And so it's so natural, and like trusting those gut feelings, your instincts are so natural. And so like you said, like we're so programmed to just go so hard. And so maybe at first, like when we're not so in tune with our journey, like we're just going and so oblivious to it. But it's like when you're able to find like your flow, your niche, your how you go back, like in this world, how you walk about it, you're able to like see the signs easier, I feel like.
True. Very true. What's up, Jada?
Hey guys, how are you?
Awesome. You got any takes on the brain chapter? Did you read it or listen to it?
I got a chance to listen to it and read it, but I'm unfortunate to get a chance to digest it much. So
no worries. Anybody else want to give their take? Janika?
Sure. So for me, this chapter just reminds me of how, programmable our brains are. Mm-hmm. And, when you really think about it, you really have the power to program your brain. Everything starts in the mind. So it starts with what you allow your mind to ingest. And, it soon becomes your reality. That's where it really flows from. So, we have the power to really not only decide to do things, but we also have the power to, make a lot of things come to fruition. And it all starts with, the programming of your mind. And then, from there, it then, comes out into the physical. Then you see the action, but it starts in your mind. It's just like when you're about to do something, or if you say that, okay, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, you have to decide it first in your mind, because if your mind hasn't been programmed to, and you've decided and you've accepted it, then you're not really going to see it come to fruition. It just becomes, just words that you're blurting out. So that's what this chapter really spoke to me. So really how programmable your mind is, and how much power we have in that capacity.
100%. I love it. And you're right. I mean, we take for granted so much with the powers that we do have, that we possess. Back to the results don't show up in the speed that we want them. And we all want to have the timeline and time frames set for it. We don't get to decide that. As long as we know that we're doing the right things and we're on the right tracks, then those time frames and time spans, that's on God. And we can't speed that up, or as they say in here, infinite intelligence. But I think everyone on here believes in God. So if you don't, I'll pray for you. But it's really powerful of, this, the journey that I've been blessed to be on and to have you all on with me, but to have Reiki done to me for the first time. And it's just energy. If anybody doesn't know what it is, it's energy passed from the universe through the administrator's hands to the person. So it just is. And when I first had it done to me, when I first read about it, I'm like, I have no clue what just happened to me, but I know what just happened to my leg. And I know that it just got hot, tingly. Now I can move it, blood flow. And they did nothing but just lay their hands on my leg. So that just opened me up to, that was 15 years ago when my wife was pregnant with my son. And it just made me take about 5 steps back to really say, you know what? I'm open. There is so much more out there than I have any clue. Why would I think I know any better? Why would I think I know what just happened? I don't know. And just stayed with that mentality for, and I already had an open mind, but that just really, so now going to these next levels of vibration and energy, and the transfers of energy, and good energy and bad energy, and, just spoken word, and like how much energy you put out, and that goes somewhere. So somebody catches that. And then when people are in each other's space that have that, you can, I don't know, when you walk into a room and you're in a room of high vibrating people, you can feel it as soon as you walk in. If you walk into a room with very low vibrating people and they're energy suckers or vampires, whatever the hell they are, you feel it. Like it just doesn't. So that you don't have thought is what I'm trying to say with all of that. There's no thought that goes into that. That just is. What you got, Reg? You're on mute, buddy.
Okay. No, I'm listening right now. I had to take a little break.
No worries. No worries. I didn't know if you wanted to throw in some input, because you always have some beautiful knowledge. So cool.
Well, you get that when you get old, I guess. No, but I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, no, awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Derek, you got anything? Are you busy up there?
Yeah, of course I'm always gonna have something.
I know you got. I didn't know if you were busy, but
Oh yeah, I'm always busy. It is what it is. So I'll fit it in.
yes, sir.
Yeah. Boy, the brain. So my mind is this was processing a lot this week, and then as we had the session today, and I was just listening and thinking, and I think sometimes you have a personal reference point. Sometimes you may have a community reference point that illuminates the idea of thought. I was thinking about the young lady in the early part of the book when she was asked by her mom to ask for the change. And in her mind, her brain, that was a very concrete request. It was not a negotiable. It was a made up mind. And I think about Mandela in his period of incarceration, that how through his mind, he took himself to a place where he can still channel the best of what was yet to come from him. And so I think about how even in my personal experience, I remember, things, natural things that you take to mean certain things, such as, I was sickly. I was told I was sickly. I was born an asthmatic, and I bought the explanation. You're sickly, and sickly kids don't play like the regular kids because that could trigger reactions and things of that. But then much later in my life, many years of deprogramming through personal development and a variety of types. And then the willingness to allow things I do not know anything about to exist within my mind, such as when a gentleman came to our company and invited a group of us to consider running to generate some funds for cancer. The American Cancer Society said we could raise money. You could join this running group called Determination. And it was a pretty significant request to run a marathon. And to put it in perspective, I hadn't even run a 5K. So you could just imagine the thought that initially hit my mind was, But then he threw out a suggestion that I can take you from a couch potato to a marathoner. So that put a whole new look on the situation, because he suggested something that I didn't even consider as possible. So I took him up on it. In fact, I was the only one out of the group, about 25 of us that took him up. And I can tell you, looking back and thinking about that whole process, the moment you make up your mind to do something, you might think, okay, that's the checker flag, but trust and believe, you open up a whole lot of other things too, because there was so many people that came at me like, fool, are you crazy? Like, you gonna die? They told me all kinds of things, but fortunately, my mind had insulated me. My brain had built that protective sheltering so that it's like rain on the window. I can look at it. It can rain as hard as it wants, but it's just sliding off the glass and sliding down. It's not penetrating. And so I just went into a space, a cocoon of my mind. And all I visualized was the outcome. And 22, 23 weeks later, I completed this event in 7.5 hours.
Yeah.
That I can't tell you how it happened. But what I can tell you is that at no time did I consider that it couldn't happen. And that's the power of the mind. Now, liken it to that was at age 55. And so, recently I'm always engaging, and we are an industrious group. This little think tank with this mighty think tank. I don't use the word little. This mighty think tank. We have the audacity to have some pretty gargantuan thoughts that we are housed, that we're running with, that we're exploring. And I realized very quickly, when I have a conversation outside of this room, I meet with different levels of mind, belief, comprehension. And I realized it's like a frequency. I'm not on the same frequency as everyone else. Hence how we began this thing talking about the brain, and it's related to the ether and the frequency. It's like our frequency is a different, it's stronger, and it's on a different tune. And if you're not in line with the frequency, it's noise, it's static. It's really like, I can't stand a radio station when it's not right precisely on the dial. If it's not precise and it's just off, that agitates me to no end.
Or you
I
don't
want
hear it at
clear.
all. Or you don't hear it at all.
Oh, I don't hear it all, but you know, if I
No,
hear,
not that. I'm saying you hear that crazy frequency.
oh, right.
But it's that, then it's also the
Silence. The yes,
they
that
can't
exactly.
hear us. You
Exactly.
can't hear
So-
them, thankfully.
So I won't delve into all of the undertakings of this past week, but it's been a lot. It's a lot going on in the world, a lot going on locally, and I just thought that this chapter just enables us to really pierce through and see the magic in this divine blessing that we got, this brain from the infinite intelligence. A brain from the infinite intelligence wouldn't be designed for something finite,
Right.
because it's like for like, right? So the infinite created us with this particular instrument called the mind. And just right now today, all the things that our mind did from the time our eyelids popped open, all the things it's doing simultaneously while we're going through the motions, while we're configuring things out, it's working. Like multi-tiered, multi-level. So, you know, anyway, all I can say is I'm stoked.
Yes, sir.
This book here, this group here, this time and moment here, it's all precise. And Nia, I haven't forgot you. I got your message. I know you rocking. And I know Reg is rocking. And I know everybody on here is rocking. And we're at the tip of the iceberg. I mean, it's a glacier underneath that water. We have no idea the magnitude of what's before us right now. It's a beautiful thing. I would have likened it to a Grand Canyon view. You got a whole scene out there just to glaze upon and enjoy. So, you know, power to us.
Yes.
Glad to be with you guys.
Love it, brother. Love you, man. That's always love your insight and your take, because it's so deep, and you can, like Red said, there's the wisdom of the years of the experiences of the, you know, all that you've been through. Like, it doesn't, someone who's 20, they can't talk like that. They haven't been through enough, 30, 40, whatever it is. But the brain and the made up mind, like you said, well, you did it because you made your mind up. You said, I'm doing this. I don't know how, I don't care how, it's gonna get done. The 7 hours, whatever it took you to do it, you don't know how I did it. It's a made up mind did that. And it's just it's beautiful. And the frequency, like you said, that we're on, the brain, when they said how much we actually use of our brain, or how much connective millions and billions upon billions, and they're all lined up precisely. Come on now. Like, that wasn't just put in there, like they're saying, just to freaking sit inside your head for you to be able to walk and talk and put on your clothes. And no, it was to connect to this talk about World Wide Web and global network, and like just the frequencies and vibrations that we all tap into without speaking, the feelings that we have without speaking, the clairvoyance that happens with people when they tap into that. These aren't like made up things. And this book was, 1937, right? So things have expanded. All this information that's been shared that people can actually read and see and figure out. Now people are tapping into all kinds of other different frequencies and different energies, and they're endless. They're endless. We truly have an endless amount of possibility all sitting right in here that we just have to believe and tap into. And then just put in the time, the effort, the energy of staying on that course and altering that vibration back to a higher frequency, because we can all let it drop and shift. The best of us, because I work with some of the best that you would think you're always on. Well, they come to me to turn them back on. So, and some of you know this, man, but it's just powerful. Again, it's just one of these chapters where I've read and reread, and every time it hits in a different angle, it hits a different piece, it hits a different vibration. And, you know, again, like Reg or like Derek said, we have an amazing vibration right here. And that, Janika, that's why I wanted you to be in here with us, because you vibrate with us. There's no question. And we're all going the same way. Like Derek said, he talks to and sees a lot of people, as we all do, on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis, that are not vibrating anywhere near where we are in its noise. So that's my challenge for all of you, is to get rid of some noise this next week. Get rid of some noise, get rid of some things that you know that's not your frequency, you know, that's not your, you know, that's not going to bring you to your next level, because we're all, you know, scratching at that next level. We are. There's so many more. It's freaking, I'm clear on this. Like a lot of the stuff you talk about, Christina, with visions and seeing things, it's powerful. And there's so much more. And when you see it, you can't unsee it. Let me tell you, and it's there for everybody. And we're all going there. Clear as day. And just, Dave, did you have anything else? I saw you. I know you had some. You always got great.
No, I mean, I don't have any. You guys have hit the nail on the head on this one. I mean, obviously, there's nothing not larger, but like, you know, more powerful than the brain. Like you said, you know, you guys have all hit it. It's like a radio frequency tower, you know. It's like, I mean, it's just everything's so much bigger, you know. And I don't know, I've been a little distracted, to be completely honest. I don't want to bring the tone down, but my uncle just passed away, like, you know, not too long ago. And so I got a lot of, you know, how obviously when that happens to anybody, you go through this whole stage of, you know, finality and, you know, like what that means. I know we at this level, you know, we're grateful and we think about these things maybe every day, but you're not really like freshly, you know, hit with it. And I don't know, there's just a lot, you know. He was down in Mexico. Do you mind me telling a quick?
No, go ahead, bro. Okay. The floor is yours.
So he retired he was in upstate New York. He was in Rochester, and retired and moved down to Mexico, like, man, probably like 15, maybe even 20 years ago. And was kind of a loner, you know, like just kind of wanted to go down there and just be left alone. And didn't come back to the States once he left. And he was the youngest of my mom. It's my mom's brother. And she's in the middle. He was the youngest one. And then they got an older sister too, and she's in Ohio. But anyway, he never came back. And like, they were both kind of, you know, like noticeably upset. You know, they went down to visit him a couple times. And like, I guess like the second or third time, you know, he didn't really pay that much attention to them. So they kind of like, you know, were sort of semi-estranged, you know. They just didn't really like communicate that much, emailed and stuff. But, you know, just think about those like lost connections. Like once something like once it's gone, you can't make that up. You know, you can't go back and fix your relationship with somebody, you know. So just kind of going through, well, I wish I would have kept in better touch. And I tried, but, you know, he wasn't real. Yeah. I went down there. So this was like 2011 or 2012 when I got married. We went down to Mexico and saw him, my ex-wife and I, and like had our honeymoon down there. And he was cool, you know. We hung out with him, and I always like, he's a lot actually like me, so I just have a lot of like weird stuff going on with that, because he was really into woodworking. Like he was incredible, just like one of the smartest guys I've ever met, you know. And just didn't really, when you have people like that, you just feel like so many more people should have been able to be touched by him, you know, or anybody else that you guys, you know, have close to you. But you know, he also, like, he was in relatively good shape. He was only 71. And we were built a lot alike, and we have just a lot of similarities. He was always joking around, like really funny. Not that I think I'm funny, but I don't know. So that's just kind of, I've just been distracted and dealing with that for a little bit. I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to go down to Mexico to, to a service down there that they're going to have for him. But my mom doesn't think it's necessary to go down there. And, obviously I don't want to travel internationally right now, but so just kind of trying to figure that out, but
Yeah, my condolences. You will.
Condolences.
Just my suggestion and my opinion about just talk to him, keep talking. You'll hear his voice and you'll hear his spirit it'll be loud as day, especially somebody that you've been connected to and that's that close to you. Like you said, you see a lot of him in you, or you and him, and just the different things that you did and his personalities and all of that. Well, for one, you are connected. I mean, we're all connected, but you are really connected because he's your uncle, right? So, but that vibration, and you will tap into that like so fast and so quick. And I mean, I could blow all your minds, not trying to blow it, but like just as far as like some of the conversations I have with some clients that are like, well, since we're all on this, this won't put any downer on that. Her son committed suicide 7 years ago, 2 days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago it was 7 years. And she has been like in full like communication with him from almost the day he passed. Like she's like, so your uncle, and for people that pass, they have more work to do. They can do more work from the other side than they can here. They're done with their journey here. We don't understand their journey. We don't understand what it was or why, especially, again, for my client whose son, took his life. And it's like, but she's really coming to the understanding of it. She's coming into a whole nother side, and became like the crystal bowl, sound healing. So her whole like passion was to like heal herself. And now through this, it's been like, okay, now this is my gift to help heal others and like really spread this. So again, it's just tapping into and listening, and just think of the good memories and the experiences and the time. I know it's hard, it sucks. I do this with, my best friend, Tim Diamond, that passed away. It's like, and my dad, like I hear them clear as day. Like I can hear their voice. I can hear their tone, their intonation. I can have a full conversation and I know what they're going to say or what they're saying. And, it's not always long conversations, but it's just, or asking just different advice or whatever. And it's like, you can hear them. I don't know. So just know that this chapter right here, you can tap into that. We all have that capability of tapping into that, to that next level, into that tune. And it doesn't happen, again, it's with more practice and more, more times you do this stuff, the clearer it gets. It's like the radio station that Derek's talking about. So, it's not completely tuned in yet, but just play with the dial a little bit. And yeah, but that's it's an unfortunate part of life that we all, have to deal with our loved ones, man. We don't get to choose how they go. And thankfully we don't have to choose how they go or know how they go, or, ahead of time. So, but the other, again, on death, another one that Byron and I were talking about today was, he was having a conversation with someone, and he's like, this is a challenge again that I'm going to put on myself and you. Oh, what if the doctor told you have 4 years to live? Not terminal, not this, that, like you got 6 weeks, 6 months, you do something different. But if you have 4 years, what would you do in those 4 years? Setting up your will, whatever it is. I mean, make sure all your finance, everything's in order, like crystal clear, files, this, that, travel, people you're going to see, talk to, destinations that you want to go to, the bucket list type stuff, and I'm not saying for all of us, we can do bucket list stuff right this second, but in 4 years, you can. Put it on your list for 2 years out, 1 year out, 3 years out, a 4-year bucket list, or 4-year time to set up everything that we need to set up to get to these next levels, because we're going there. And God willing, 4 years is going to come. Why not have it set up to where, you know, we're not waiting and planning for the next, you know, 15 to 20, 30, whatever it is. You know, we have 50, 60, 70 years, 80, shoot. In your 20s, man, you got 80 more years, but a 4 years, set it up. So that's the brain thinking, right? There's so much, so deep we can go with all of this. And what would you do if you had 4 years to live? Yeah.
Dominic,
Yes.
I'd like to add to that, or tweak it a little bit because of an experience I had. First of all, Dave, I'm so sorry for your loss. And I wanted to say to you, I think you should follow your heart about the service. Don't think about it so much, just follow your heart, where your heart is pulling you or what it's pulling you to do about that situation. It may not make sense to other people, and that's okay. You have to listen to your heart. Each of us do on moments like this, because you don't want to have regrets about the situation. So I hope I'm not intruding. I just
Oh, thank you.
wanted to offer that. But, and then what you said, Dominic, Saturday, Kevin and I were coming home, because you were saying 4 years, but we don't know. And I know you know this, I'm preaching to the choir, but we don't know when our time is up. And my son and I were coming home, and out of the blue, there was a fatal car accident right in front of us, right practically next to us. 2 men died. I'm sure they didn't plan that. One of them was a bicyclist that caused the accident, and the other one that hit him was on a motorcycle. And the one of those 2 men, I spoke with a friend that was off to the side of the road. She said, we were just together. We were just at the convenience store. He said, I got to go get something. I'll be right back. And gone. Just gone. Accident. Unplanned, you know? So this Think and Grow Rich, really, you know, we ought to be living our lives like literally we might not see tomorrow. I mean, with no regrets. Because unfortunately, for most of us, myself included, we always believe that we have tomorrow and we put things off, you know? And the relationship, like with my brother, is really topsy-turvy. And family are all against him. And I made a decision. I feel flushed now. This is, I made a decision, you know, that's my brother. He's a truck driver. He's on the road. What if he dies in a horrible wreck? And we're going to leave each other like this? I don't want that to happen. So we've been, you know, mending, and it doesn't make sense to anybody else in my family, but I am his sister. We are born of the same parents. We once had a childhood together. You know what I'm saying? So in living a life of no regrets, you know, what are your relationships like with people, with yourself, you know? And then with Derek, I have so much I have in common with you. When I was 55, 5 years ago, I did my first 5K, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. And I almost quit. And my son called me out on social media. I'm like, oh my God, I've got to do this, you know, and I did it. But I did it because I had the belief from other people in me that helped me to believe in myself to get it done. So, you know, maybe, you know, what I would like to say to everyone is work on fixing broken relationships, and so that you won't have regrets, and live life every moment. You know, Dominic Rowena put such a fantastic post out on Facebook that just explains it all to the T, you know? We don't know what tomorrow has, so live it, live life. Believe in yourself and live in the moments that you're with your loved ones. Don't be so consumed about reaching ABC, you know, when you're with your loved ones. Give them that love and attention that they deserve. That's it. That's my story.
That's it. You hit the nail on the head with all of that. And yes, the 4-year plan is not your live every day like it's going to be your last, because that's truly how you need to live. And I do every day. I wake up, I pray to the Lord, thanking him for waking me up and blessing me with a new day to go into my whole prayer. And then at night, thank you for the day. And like, just, I hope he has more for me tomorrow, because I have more to give. And I think the more that we can give and to show up every day, again, like it's your last. It's not hard to, you know, just, the world's looking for more kind people, more good people, more people to, you know, live into that. If it was your last day, you're gonna worry about it. Any of the stuff that you worried about? No, you're not. So it's just really step into your greatness and really be more godlike. Like, what would God want you to do? You know, having a conversation with God, because every person we're talking to is an extension of each other. So it's like, how would you want to be treated? And just live every day like it's, you know, like it's the most amazing day, because it is, and live it like over and over, Groundhog's Day. So, all right, I have to run. I appreciate all of you, and we'll be here next week, same time. If you have any other thoughts, any other insight, you know, because these things, they hit you at certain times. So it's Janika, I'll put you in our Telegram chat. I don't know if you're in there or not, but I'll add you to it. And yeah, so reach out to anybody, any other thoughts you got. Dave, like Christina said, just follow your heart. I say follow your gut. That's more for me of how I do things, because sometimes the heart gets in the way. A lot of times the mind will definitely get in the way, but the gut's always right. Your gut is undefeated every time. So, but all right, guys, have a beautiful night. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you. Take
All right.
care.
Thank
Okay.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Good night.